Thank you. And it's good to virtually see everybody. And I just want to say I'm Alice Kociemba. I'm the founding director of Calliope Poetry for Community. And welcome. Tonight is our first and possibly for an extended period of time, virtual poetic license, as these times really require us to stay connected, but also to be respectful of the pandemic. And I wanted to start off with a note of thanks for Falmouth Community TV, for Andrew Richards especially, for providing us with really timely and accurate information on what to expect and how to protect ourselves and others in a responsible way. They give us regular updates from local and state officials about the COVID-19 spread and response, and I'm very appreciative of that. Also, they have a series, if you go on fctv.org, their website, they have FCTV Cares, which includes a weekly unrecorded community conversation with Deborah Rogers, sharing our stories, which you can submit a 2-minute video to FCTV about how you're doing in this crisis. And also in a very interesting show hosted by Troy Clarkson called Business Roundtable. It's all part of FCTV Cares. And the Business Roundtable really explores how our businesses are doing locally and how they're responding to the economic challenge, which is part of this whole challenge. And it's all up on their website. So at some point, if you are able to either financially support FCTV, that might be difficult right now, but please consider becoming a member and certainly watch what they're doing, because what they're doing is phenomenally excellent. So, and Andrew has gone over all of the guidelines, and he will help. He's the master muter and unmuter. So if we forget to unmute or mute, I'm sure Andrew will step in. And as he said, it's a 4-minute time slot. It can be original poetry, and why original poetry is because it's later put up on FCTV's YouTube channel, and it's copyright protection, so that's why it's there, unless it's, of course, in the public domain. So it's original poetry, spoken word, comedy, music, anything goes. And that we just consider the respect for the general audience. So don't worry about any mistakes. I will read your name, and really, if you are here for the first time, can you tell us that? Because we really want to give you an extra silent round of applause. And tonight's poetic license is the first time we've not only been virtual, it's the first time we've had a theme, and it's just connecting in the crisis. So you can take that anywhere you want to take it. And the whole point is for us to stay connected. I'm going to read first, and I'll end the evening. And I'm going to just say how what I've chosen connects to the theme. As some of you know, I became involved with poetry after suffering a severe head injury many years ago now that cost me the ability to read and drive and work for 6 months. So I've had, as I'm sure many of you have had, an unanticipated extended period of isolation and disruption. So this is a new poem that I wrote recently, and I wrote it really to remind us of how resilient we are. The title is an English translation of a line from the Italian aria Nessun Dorma by Puccini. And although in the poem the line is in Italian, I'm not going to try to read it in Italian because I respect language so much. And please be assured that I will not sing it, because I was the only person who was told I could be part of the 5th grade choir if I only mimed the words and didn't sing out loud. So I'm not going to sing it. So this has an epigraph. It was based on, because we were home looking a little bit at YouTube and finding on YouTube from the New Yorker, March 19, 2020. The Italians have embraced the language of music as a means to communicate with their neighbors and endure the ravages of COVID-19. So then I watched the video. And so here's the title. Watch the stars that tremble with love and with hope. All you need, 2 wooden spoons and a pan. Though some had a violin, a cello, a flute, some had arias in their bones. Others couldn't carry a tune. At 6 p.m., everyone went out onto their balconies, even though Italy was dying. Churches packed with caskets. No one remained a stranger. Watch the stars that tremble with love and with hope. Everyone with breath sang to ward off the dark. So that's the new poem. And the second reader, the first person on my list, is Donna Scheer, who I have the pleasure to say is going to co-host with me future Poetic License events. And it is great to see Donna again. So silently, please welcome Donna Scheer.
Yay. Oh, good, sign language. I'm just glad that I've been Zooming with my grandchildren. They don't have daycare, of course, and I've been singing songs and telling stories and so on. So I'm more familiar with this than I would have been otherwise. Very nice to see everybody. And I have 2 poems. The first one is not really a connecting theme in a general way, but the second one is. This is called Marginalia in Billy Collins. Sacrilege, scribbled in the margins of a library book. I understand the enthusiasm, but a virtuous bibliophile leaves no footprint. True, these thoughts are pencil drawn, easily erased, but angry at the invasion, my dismay is not so easily obliterated. A defiler has tagged favorite verses. I refuse to agree, except maybe the one about undressing Emily Dickinson. Well-worn, well-cherished author, herein I will lightly leave a pink post-it noting my outrage. Then quickly order a personal copy where I may underline with abandon. The second one, because of my age and my prior conditions, I made the decision early on to shelter in place. And I don't know if everybody worries about dying from this disease, but I know that I certainly did and occasionally still do. But I came across something that really changed my perspective. And so that's what this poem is about. It's called First and Final Light. And the quote is the law of conservation and energy. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. In Key Largo, the sun leans rose gold against east-facing windows, while mourning doves, a chorus of cuckoo clocks, welcome the day. In Chicago, it glints off metal skates that bite into my white keds and off the hollow key string strung around my neck. It glistens on Ronnie Lupke's pale yellow hair, cut bright and brill-creamed, as he gentles my chin to taste summer in my first kiss. It glows along corn stalks in Holcomb's field and tomato globes, twisted, picked, somersaulted from the shaker in my back pocket. And ancient light Mary's blue-black shadows flashing molten into the Grand Canyon. My sun has dawned for 70 years to bless the candles, each time a shiny surprise. Liquid light has poured into my eyes. So much, surely my light will linger after I am gone. Loving you so, certainly others will glimpse me as I gleam from your heart, winking directly out of your eyes. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Donna. Those are beautiful. You know, the visual images in the second poem are, you feel like you're there. So thank you so much. And our next, I now say performer because I never know what people are going to do. Our next performer is Susan Beth Carlson. You have to unmute the mic.
Yeah, I'm not muted, but okay. I thought that the video would come up. We're in a pandemic. An early labyrinth design is called the seed pattern. Before Corona, overlooking the water while walking the labyrinth, that seed was planted and it grew in our hearts. Now it blossoms online at Labyrinth Live, an online labyrinth experience. This is one of the group intentions that I've read at the labyrinth experience. April showers bringing flowers. This April, we may feel showered with the rains of doubt and despair, fear and worry. Let us notice that the very same rains of those storms nourish us as we drink them in and wash us clean of all those external messages we do not need. One recent morning, I awoke to a sunny day and suddenly rejoiced as I sang out, and I am going to sing, sorry, as I sang out, I live in a wonderful home. I have water, I have food. I have love inside me, and it wants to be free. That joyous sense of appreciation had expressed itself as song, and it became a singing affirmation that grew into a children's song for awakening. Nothing stays the same, and that is good. If things didn't change, then that song wouldn't have awakened in me. And when seeds are buried deep in the rain-drenched earth, they would not push their way into the light. They would not grow into plants, and the buds of their flowers would not open. And without change, we would still be sweet but helpless babies. We are not helpless. We have the power to help others and to help ourselves. We have love within us that we can share, each in our own way and with our own talents, as evidenced here tonight, just as we each find our own way through the labyrinth. In the midst of all this change, we can appreciate what we still have and the new opportunities we are just receiving as we become those blossoming flowers opening to the light. When I read this, I showed a video of time-lapsed flowers blossoming accompanied by beautiful music. The next Labyrinth Live will Zoom on May 14th at 2. You'll need to sign up to get the password, and you can do that at Meetup, Return to Joy, Labyrinth Live. This poem is called Home Again, A Tale of Time Travels. I'm exploring in my house, spelunking deep within my home, in the center of my heart, for now 'tis instruments that roam. They wander through life's melodies and harmonies and discord too. They gather that which serves the journey and discard things that are through. And when this streamlined newer self accepts all that its present holds, it gathers rosebuds from online and loving hugs all cyber rolled. Now sees the sun warm singing birds that serenade in freedom's song, recalling tender natures granted, with hope that future won't take long. It breathes in calm and meditates, while violet hues in eyelids bloom. Who knew such journeys might await right here inside this very room? And looking forward to what will be in the future we can't see, dancing blossoms in my house, which brings me home again, set free. And this last poem is called Crowning. Without need of coronation, yet having had it, we are all like the butterfly, delicate and beautiful monarchs of our environment, powerfully connecting each to one another and to our earth. I honor the beauty of your wings. They fly across the world as multicolored music. And I just want to say, keep letting your gifts fly through cyberspace. They convert isolation and distancing to cozy connection, that we may find shelter within our homes, wherever they be housed. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. You look like an angel. And you are. Thank you so much. And our next performer is Patricia Austin. Patricia.
How come am I not on video?
Oh, you don't see yourself, you see someone else, usually.
Okay, I didn't see anything. Okay, that's fine. All right. Well, thank you, ladies, very much. Those were all wonderful, all of them. I write poetry, and I also write what I call poesy, poetical essays. And so tonight I'm going to recite three very short poems, but I'm also going to recite a poesy. I'll start with the poesy. It's called, What Will It Take? Kafka said, by believing passionately in something that still does not exist, we create it. The non-existent is what we have not sufficiently desired, unquote. If that is true, obviously we have not desired peace. We have not desired truth. We haven't desired equality and hope and the well-being of all mankind. Obviously, many have desired the good of the few, they and their own, over a veil of the many. In fact, many among us have desired their own over all other peoples of the world and the earth itself, our home. Einstein said, a human being is part of a whole called by us universe. He experiences himself as separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to include, to embrace all living things and the whole of nature in its beauty, unquote. What will it take for us to desire prosperity for all mankind and the will to nurture and care for all of nature? What will it take for us to desire help for our neighbors as well as ourselves? What will it take for us to desire kindredship with all? To desire God. The next poem is very short. The rest of the poems are pretty short. This is a poem written in response to the pandemic. It's called keepsake. Keep your hands to yourself. Keep your mouth shut. Respect the microbes as living entities or material contingency. We forced the belief from bats to human beings by decimating the bat population because we have no respect for nature. It's only here for us, and nothing's greater than we are, except the microbe is now in ascendancy. And if we don't bow to its existence, we will be dead. So keep your mouth shut. Keep your hands to yourself. And one little poem, lest we forget where we are and what we have. Vespers, evensong, call to mourn. The evening star, then the dawn. The day in circles, then the night, resplendent creaturehood, the night. And I'll leave you with one little thought through the lines. We must pray for ego to be crushed and crumpled and washed away. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Patricia. Our next performer is, I think, somebody I know very well, Shelby Allen, but I think it's her first time at Poetic License. So please welcome Shelby.
Allison, can you hear me?
Yep, absolutely.
I'm moved by everyone's offering and singing and light and centering and connection. I have connection thoughts too, but a different branch of connecting. Still connecting. These are mine. This is getting Karen to the door. She wrestles a wheelchair out of her car trunk and sits, monumental in the parking lot. Her wheelchair won't fit in my narrow elevator. I worry up a little chair, fold the wheelchair, swing Karen's non-moving legs into the elevator's iron cage. I get in the cage too, close the gate, and push the button. Time limps as we ride to my floor. With her muscled arms, Karen rises from the chair, then lurches, falling hard head first onto her trust of me. Courage looks like physics if you've come too far to fail. Okay, this connection also implies lack of connection, and I was feeling that recently. Is this spring? The sun's in quarantine. Clouds are wispy, embarrassed to rain. The earth needed a change and turned gray. Gray's safer, they're saying, older and duller. Green would shock us, and it could spread. Keep cheer in a gray area, neither here nor there. Walking is allowed, but be careful. No surprises. Gray jacket and sneakers, every house painted gray on a dead-end lane. Gray asphalt and gravel, gray metal poles, the same walk every day, more gray hair. I turned a corner today, and pink poked me in the eye. red, white, and lavender cooked up a new color. Is beauty allowed? Why did blossoms burst out of gray branches on two separate trees? I have one more. Do we have time?
Sure.
To answer the earlier question, why did the blossoms burst? This one's called mating season. 6 bird lengths apart, 2 robins skitter across the lawn. Legs whirring, neck bobbing, the puffed red chest male could easily catch the muted brown female, but he suddenly stops. So does she. Ignoring my bird feeder, robins hear the earth shift beneath their feet. Tiny particles rubbing together when an unseen worm moves. Calcium from a worm, call it hope, will strengthen the coming eggs. Hope is empty, it's too big, but small actions fill it. The male bird cocks his head, keeps one eye skyward, one on the dirt. He sees up and down together the unknown future and what just arrived. A shiny, moist speck of sustenance poking out of the earth.
Thank you. It has seemed like a dismal spring, but every once in a while there's a little hope.
Just enough.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you so much, and welcome to Poetic License. So our next performer is also new to Poetic License, Annie Hart Cool. Annie, welcome. Let's see.
Alice, it looks like she's having a problem with her audio, so maybe we'll skip her and come back to her, okay?
Okay. Did you get everything from Shelby that you needed?
Did I?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. All right. So we'll when Annie is back, we'll go to Annie. But right now, let's go to Vasco Pires. I think I've pronounced it right. I remember seeing you before at Poetic License and asking you if that was the correct pronunciation.
Vasco Pires, but this is my second time since August because I suffered an injury on September 1st, and I've been kind of housebound since then. This is nothing new to me. I have 2 pieces I like to read. I have one that I'm kind of working on, so it's in the kind of the birthing stage. And the second one is going to be in honor of my cousin, who is the former president of Cape Verde. His birthday is this month. So the first one is called Looking Across America. Looking across America, a land so vast, wondering if this democracy can last. All the sins from the past coming to roost at last. America, when will you learn? Real greatness you must earn. For all the power and influence you yearn, only leads you to crash and burn. America, where will we be in the next century? Will we still be a democracy? Will we still be America, the land of the free? What will life be like for you and me? How long will it take to make the change? It is not impossible, nor is it strange. It takes courage to plan and arrange a peaceful home on the range. So that's something that's in the work. And this last one is in honor of course, the people of Cape Verde and also its former president, Pedro Verona Pires, who served 2 terms, and he was also the first prime minister of the Republic of Cape Verde. People of Cape Verde. Cape Verde is a nation of people forged on the anvil of colonialism. It is a cultural bridge spanning the oceans of humanity. Human waves determine spirits, deep cultural roots no one can deny. To future generations, they provide pride and dignity. A free nation, an example for all to see, people of all colors creating this Cape Verdean democracy. Pedro Pires, its president, carries on the legacy. Amilcar Cabral, return to the source was his call. Freedom and justice for all. Cape Verdean people are proud, every man, woman, and child. Cape Verdean contributions made to the world, contributions not yet recognized. On the backs of Africans, many fortunes were made in that golden triangle of trade. Sugarcane, cotton, cranberries, and more brought fortune and fame to this new shore. America, her history now revealed, the truth recorded, now sealed. Freedom from justice, equality, denied for many years, is now a legacy earned by blood, sweat, and tears. America, we have been here for many years. We have toiled in the forest of the Americas, the cane fields of the Caribbean, the cotton fields and cranberry bogs of the USA. Whaling ships have carried our dreams throughout the oceans of the world. From our far-off lands and continents too, we now unite to claim our due. The power of electricity combined with the new technology of wireless communications and electronic mail. The truth now spreads to the world. The reality of people of Cape Verde will prevail. Happy birthday, Pedro Pires. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Vasco. That's wonderful. And I very much appreciate the new work as well. It would be good if America could earn it again. So thank you.
Yeah.
And I just found out, because every once in a while I lean in because I'm getting a little chat message from Andrew, that Annie Hart-Cool is now back with us. So it's now Annie. So welcome, especially to Poetic License.
Thank you so much. It's my first time.
Yes.
And I'm pleased to be here. So you've probably heard that Lee Geisiker from Vagabond View and I have been doing this really kind of fun pandemic photo essay, and that has been the Front Steps Project. And we've been going around to 250 families, 1,000 faces, 400 pets, and taking socially distanced photographs. And one of the things that has happened, I don't have a poem for you, but what I have for you is an experience. And what I think is so important for those of us who have the good fortune to be around children is to, out of the mouths of babes, this comes from a place of children say the darndest things, right? We approached a family not too long ago and asked the 5-year-old, how long have you lived here? And she said, 20 years. And I thought, isn't that funny? Because that's her perception. So it brought me back to a few stories from my past. And this one is kind of a fun one. I had this camp called Annie Camp. And all my nieces who are now in their 20s and 30s and would be humiliated to know that I was telling this story. I would get them up early and get them out of the house in their pajamas. We'd go to Goodwill Park, 6:30 in the morning, and take a swim in August. In their pajamas, they got to swim, which was naughty by all parental standards, but something Auntie Annie could do with them. 5 little girls, 3 car seats. 2 were old enough not to have car seats. And we would swim and play. There'd be a couple fisher people there, and we'd have a great time. And then I'd get them to my car. I'd strip them of their wet jammies and throw them in one of my husband's oversized sweatshirts, buckle them into their seats, and go to McDonald's. Again, a little naughty because these kids never ate McDonald's. And while I pulled up to McDonald's, I'd roll down my window and I'd make the order for whatever it was we were eating that morning. And behind me, in my rear view, I notice the window is going down. And Elizabeth, who's 3, says, Auntie Annie, I have sand in my wee-wee. And I hear inside of McDonald's everyone laughing. I roll up the windows and trying to avoid everyone commenting about their private areas at that point. I say, hey, I just got back from Paris. And oui means yes, yes in French. So we pull up to retrieve our food. And the window goes down, and a very adamant Elizabeth rolls down her window, sticks her head out and says into the mirror, Auntie Annie.
Yeah. we got to the McDonald's window, and then we assumed that the child got something to eat. So Andrew, how would you like to do this?
Well, her microphone is having a problem. And
Okay, so we can go on and
we'll go on, and maybe if she comes back, we can hear the punchline.
Okay, I hope so. Because we'd have to say we all night. It's just to find out. All right. So our next performer is John Jackson. John, welcome back.
And I am unmuted. Thank you. Mostly my muse recently has been limericks, short little poems of a political nature on my blog, which is limericksofprotest.com. Limericksofprotest.com. So I have a selection. Words packed in tight little patches that catch fire when somebody scratches. Both tidy and neat, they bring fire and heat. Poetry is a book of matches. Friedrich Nietzsche knew a thing or two from the abyss gazing he used to do. He says if you miss gazing into the abyss misses gazing at you. And some brief dabble into politics. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, but I don't like this backstabbing trend. Those I count as my brothers play well with others, whichever message they send. The ideals upon which he'd run, Sanders' legacy has merely begun. To his followers vocal, all politics are local. Choose an office, take out papers, and run. And of course, the main topic for the past umpteen months. To fight virus, flu, or the cold, I wash my hands just as I'm told. Sing happy birthday to you a couple of times through. This corona thing is getting real old. From all that I'm reading, I glean, pretty soon we'll all need a vaccine. Prepare for attacks from fools anti-vax, and for now, please keep your hands clean. I could quarantine with some grace, wash hands anytime, any place, cough into my sleeve, but I do not believe that I can stop touching my face. Corona conspiracy rumors. Some people just don't see the humor. Gen Y and Gen X, millennials too, I suspect. Happy COVID comes first for the boomers. St. Patrick's Day was a bust this year. So, with COVID making everyone shy-ish, ain't happening, but here is what I wish. Find friends and gather them into a small tavern, get drunk and yell, "Kiss me, I'm Irish." I'll die someday, I do not know how, but I don't want to start dying now. Posthumous applause if one dies for a cause, but I don't want to die for the Tao. When at last the virus is spent, we'll ask where 2020 has went, and we'll shed a tear remembering the year the Pope gave up Easter for Lent. Someday we'll wave all clear banners, once again employ social planners. For the sake of propriety, before we enter society, we will have to brush up on our manners. One for Easter. And when they looked into the tomb, expecting his corpse in the gloom, what could be seen was the glow of a screen, Jesus and the disciples by Zoom. Good Americans quarantined on the couch, we salute you, Dr. Anthony Fauci. Please stick with a cult as the only adult, even when the big boss gets grouchy. Each time you hear somebody cough, it means somebody somewhere turns a profit. This healthcare carousel isn't turning out well. Don't you think that it's time we get off it? Now, back to my personal life and situation. My lovely wife and lovelier mother-in-law are sheltered in Falmouth. Unfortunately, I have to work, so I'm on the wrong side of the canal. I knew my job had the potential of being declared essential. I guess COVID means I must run my machines, but I wish I could work residential. And I wanted to share a short text conversation I had with my beloved today. She threw me something, vocabulary word for you, from a Washington Post article, nugatory, of no value or importance, useless or futile. I challenge you to use that as the rhyming word in a limerick. So a couple minutes later, I said, weekends I was migratory before quarantine purgatory. This enforced bachelor life shows how I miss my wife. So not entirely nugatory. Thank you.
Thank you, John. You're so charming to listen to. I think it's great, and we'll see you again. And I hope you and your wife will be on the same side of the bridge.
Someday.
Thank you. And our next performer is also new, and I'm going to mercifully she wrote down phonetically how to pronounce her last name. Please welcome to Poetic License, Katie Ukmanowicz. Katie.
Hi.
Hey.
So I actually, my aunt was Falmouth local, and she was actually a poet. I don't know if anybody had ever heard of her, Pauline Ukmanowicz. She worked in New Paltz for a while, and unfortunately she passed away last July. But I absolutely love this poem from one of her first books, and it's actually on the back of her the mass card instead of like an or something. It's her poem. So I would like to read that for everybody. It's called This Is Our World. Scallop shells, hostages in my palms, I look to for guidance. Shoreline receding near a mesh fence that my body cannot pass through, though my shadow passes through its shadow. The moon zippers through clouds, like sperm racing to ova, like the red pupil in the iris of a fish, finning up a pool of goddesses. At sea level, life jackets dangle from the limbs of a tree. A damp voice seeps from the foam. Look everywhere, you will find what you need. And I actually had just another poem that I had written to read at her burial. And she was always very encouraging of me with my poetry. And, as a child, I would send them to her and she would tell me it was good. I know they were terrible because I was younger. I still don't think they're too terrific. I think everybody else here has had some amazing poetry, but she was just always so encouraging. And so this is one that I wrote for her. Unfortunately, she never got to hear it, but I knew she would have liked it. The love of loved ones can never be lost. It can never be stolen. It can never be damaged. Their love will always remain, always prosper, and always flourish, no matter how long they are without breath. The soul of loved ones can never be traded. It can never be consumed. It can never be taken. Whatever troubles your own soul endures, their soul shall remain, always existing, always adoring, always accompanying you. Thank you.
Oh, that is wonderful. You have the knack. Keep at it. It's
Thank you.
great. And welcome to Poetic License.
Thank you very much.
And our next reader is Mary Swope. Mary, great to see you.
Hello, everyone. So nice to be here. I've been working on the poems I've written all my life, which were quite a few since I was a certain age. And I was thinking about relationships and about how important relationships are at a time like, particularly at a time like this, and how dear everyone seems and how close you feel to people, even though you're far away. And so I have 3 poems, and in some ways, each is about a relationship. The first takes place at the National Zoo in Washington, D.C., and I'm calling it Caged. The monkey house echoes, clanging, empty of crowds this rainy afternoon. The smaller monkeys scream and spit, springing from wall bars to ceiling bars, down to the floor, where they fight over apples. The young chimp nibbles his fingers. His swing hangs limp in the rank air. Pressed against the front bars of the cage, he stares morosely at the woman who stands before him, carrying a folded umbrella, a folded plastic umbrella. The woman speaks aloud to the child ape, who simply sits there, fingering his chin. "Look," says the woman, raising the clear umbrella slowly into the air. A transparent bubble blooms in the space above the woman's head. The chimp's long fingers curl around the bars. His eyebrows startle, and he raises his head, watching the bubble fold, open, fold, then open again, until a skinny arm reaches through the bars. The chimp jumps up, up and down, begging her to do it again. Sometimes when I was in the Magansett nursing home, I would see people who had that empty look, like that chimpanzee, just blank, and then a word or a remark you might have made, or the little dog that I brought to the nursing home sometimes, and they just all of a sudden become themselves. They wake up the way that chimp did. And that's what I was thinking of when I wrote that poem. This is a very different relationship poem. It's about a man who was about 40 when this occurred. It's called Day of Reckoning. The tub holds his body in its porcelain embrace. Steam rising, spring sunlight aslant on the tiles. Downstairs, they are laying out his father in the impenetrable casket, padded with sateen. His mother raises the lid of the insulated freezer, jammed with food squirreled away against a day of reckoning. Where are the wormholes, the rough pine box, the coffin rusty with death he saw in his dreams? His mother opens the freezer. His father lies in the box. The tub holds his body in its porcelain embrace. And finally, this is for my husband, or about my husband, Jerry, who at 85 suffers from congestive heart failure. And this, he has always had a lovely sense of humor. And this will be familiar to people who, like I am a big fan of PBS, and if you watch PBS, this might mean more to you than if you don't. It's called With the Durrells. Waking from deep slumber to tossing trees, wind shaking the window, bright sun. He thinks at 85, he's not home, but on a warm Greek island, the one place on TV that transports him from the weakness and confusion of the body he now inhabits, the world he wakens into with reluctance and a wry smile. I thought I was in Corfu with the Durrells. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. And I think it's important at this time, especially, to remember the importance of relationships. So it's awfully good to see you.
Thank you.
And our next reader is, again, somebody I know, but I think she's new to Poetic License. So give a special welcome to Joyce Wilson. Joyce.
Yes, I am new, although after attending your workshop at the library, I feel this is all part of a theme. So I've been reminded very much of my childhood, staying at home so much. And it seems that I know my father was sick a lot, and I was around 6 and 7 when the polio pandemic was going on, and I remember a lot of afternoons being shut up in a bedroom with the shades drawn and listening to the radio. So this reminds me of my childhood a lot, this period of time. And I think I learned not to panic during boring times and to just look at things close at hand to deal with the boredom. So I published a number of poems in my book, The Spring House, that's about my childhood and things in our yard, and a lot of experiences that I had with my sisters. And this is the title poem, The Spring House, which was an actual house that was built over a spring that was the source of water for our house. And some of these were called pump houses, but this spring for us was gravity fed, so we called it the spring house. And our parents always told us, never go into the spring house, don't go in there. But of course we did. The spring house. Set into a hill of rabbits' lairs, the house has walls, a gabled roof, a door. Groundwater seeps like milk a mother bears and gathers in a square cut in the floor. Our father cautioned us to stay away, yet left the lock undone, a second thought. We looked in at the shallow water bay, protected source, a freshet, neatly caught. The cobwebs and accumulated dust would fall if loosened by a sudden shout. Shaken pipes would drop their scales of rust, contaminating water in the spout. But one bright day, inside the house we stepped to look into the nature of our dreams, wagering that what the stillness kept would tolerate the echoes of our screams. Mm. And there's a brook that took the runoff out of the spring house that had various levels of water and mud. And I'll never forget the day I picked up a fistful of mud, and there was a stick in it. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with the walking stick, but it's a bug. It started to move. walking stick. The tiny twig I held began to shrug, then 2 antennae twitched. It was a bug. I wondered, would it give itself to one whose eyesight fails against the brilliant sun? Perhaps it could provide a real support, a staff or crutch to saunter or cavort. I fear, alas, it might be seized and used as weapons are, abuser or abused. It hangs most of the day, remaining still, until the sun diminishes the hill. Beneath the canopy of night it pokes in search of apple leaves or rose or oaks. It loses limbs, though you might never know. A good replacement soon begins to grow. Its eggs resemble specks or bits of caulking. It does not even do all that much walking. And I also remember coming across the spittle bug that, you see this bits of spit in blades of grass. Spittle bug. While clinging to a reed beside the path, it takes a morning glory bubble bath and finds itself perfectible at home, spontaneously salivating foam and washing off unwanted dust and dirt in a position seemingly inert, creating bubbles in the summer air. It gains renewal, simply sudsy there. And I'll close with the chickens. As morning breaks, they burst through open doors like seltzer from a canister exploding. They languish in the sandy dirt at noon. An egg arrives, complete and speckled brown. One gray head jumps and cackles for her egg. Another chatters out of sympathy. 2 reds extend a leg and then a wing, like prima ballerinas at the bar. They stop formation to pursue a bug. All tremble at a crossing thunderhead, as though their minds were fastened underground. One jumps and flies against the flimsy fence. They call softly to each other at dusk and walk into their house in single file as roofs dissolve and blend into the night. I wonder if their dreams are like their days, a sisterhood of scratching in the sand. Then comes an egg, and then a falling sky. Thanks very much.
Oh, Joyce, it's wonderful. It's so good to see you. And I do think that if we could figure out what the stillness kept, it would be a nice way during the time to think that maybe all of nature is keeping still with us.
I hope so, yeah.
Thank you. And our next reader is somebody I know pretty well, and he's often at Poetic License, Rich Humans. Rich.
Yeah. Thanks, Alice. To say I really enjoyed everyone's poem, so thank you. This has been great. I have one poem tonight, and the connection to the theme, it's when I was growing up, my mother, she gradually lost her sight because of diabetes until she ultimately went blind, and which is the harshest form of forced isolation. But through it all, there was that need for connection, as well as hope, just sort of like now. So this is a poem. It's in the Haibin form. It's a little prose poem followed by a haiku, and it's called Light Touch. After the third eye hemorrhage, when dark spots hovered like UFOs, my mother prayed to St. Lucy. When the type in her magazine blurred as if smeared by Vaseline, she closed her eyes, asked Lucy to make her well. And when we walked downtown, she always stopped at the Pine Street Church to light a candle in St. Lucy's name. Afterward, she'd take my small hand and we'd play our game, spelling out the letters of familiar signs. Woolworth, Rexall, Tom McCann. I raced through them, showing off my ABCs, but my mother read the letters slowly, carefully, as if each were made of crystal, as if, with just the right breath, she could make them sing. Sure to stay, the prayer card's worn halo. That's it. Thanks so much. Be well, everyone.
Thank you. Rich is upstairs. I'm downstairs. And I'm going to just end with a very short poem that is, I started with love and hope, and I'm going to end with this very short poem, Tenacity. You see them before you see them, gray slicing gray on dopey March mornings, curls in flight, here, then gone, but not gone, and back lickety-split. Those chickadees, even their song persists. So I hope everybody persists and staying connected, and in a way that I think that words from the heart do, keeps us going, keeps us hopeful, and that we want to again thank Andrew Richards for actually getting a PhD in Zoom. He's now a Zoom pro and keeping this all together. And also for everybody who took some of their time and shared something from the heart. I really appreciate it, and we need these kinds of things. One of the ways that we wanted to end the evening is to ask you all to give some feedback. This is our first virtual poetic license. You can either email Andrew at andrew@fctv.org. We want to stay connected, and we don't know how this was going to go. It was an experiment, of course. In particular, do you want it monthly? Do you want it more than that? Would you like a theme? Would you like it, a special music edition? We've had musicians in the past. Just what would make it work for you? And I just wanted to again say, stay safe, be well, and we're stronger together, and we will get through this. Just like Joyce remembered the polio epidemic, we remember that we've been through this. We've been through wars. We'll come out the other side. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alice.
Thank you, Alice.
Thank you, Andrew.
Hi.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Mary.
I just wanted to say that I found nothing virtual about this. I found it very real and so I think that if we care about language, we'll forget this virtual business and say, well, we met at FCTV, we met on Zoom.
Yes.
And we celebrated the word and the truth. So yeah. Thanks, everybody.